Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very warm welcome on behalf of Finishrat Island Govindadwipa for this Monday morning Srimad-Bhagavatam class. Today is a very auspicious day of Sri Krishna Janmashtami as well. And Srimad-Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. Krishne swadhamopagate dharma-jnana dhibissaha kalo nashta drisham mesha puranarko dhunodita. When Krishna went back to his abode, along with dharma and jnana, dharma-jnana dhibissaha, then the Kali Yuga started. Kalo nashta drisham mesha puranarko dhunodita. And then Srimad-Bhagavatam came in as a rising sun during the dark age of Kali Yuga. When we are discussing Srimad-Bhagavatam here today, even though the verse would be different from Krishna's birth verse, but it is still Krishna Katha. And we will also discuss about Janmashtami in this discussion. Before we start the discussion, as usual, let's sing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanchari Yamuna Tira Vanchari Yamuna Tira Vanchari Yamuna Tira Vanchari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jai Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajākacārya Ashtotra Shatra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Krishne Materastu. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled Pandavas Retire Timely. Texts 22 to 24. Texts 22 and 23 are translation only, and text 24 has got purport by Srila Prabhupada. Let's read text 22 and 23. Rājaṁs tvayānupṛṣṭānāṁ suhṛdāṁ suhṛt-pure vipra-śāpa-vimūḍhānāṁ nighnatāṁ muṣṭibhir mithaḥ vāruṇīṁ madirāṁ pītvā madonmathita-cetasām ajānatām ivānyonyaṁ catuḥ-pañcāvaśeṣitāḥ. Word by word, Rajan, O king, tvaya, by you, anupṛṣṭānāṁ, as you have inquired, suhṛdāṁ, of friends and relatives, na, our suhṛt-pure, in the city of Dvārakā, vipra, the brāhmaṇas, Shāpa, by the curse of, Vimūḍhānāṁ, of the befooled, nighnatāṁ, of the killed, muṣṭibhir, with bunches of sticks, mithaḥ, among themselves, vāruṇīṁ, fermented rice, madirāṁ, wine, pītvā, having drunk, madonmathita, being intoxicated, cetasām, of that mental situation, ajānatām, of the unrecognized, iva, like, ivānyonyaṁ, one another, catuḥ, 4, pañcā, 5, avaśeṣitāḥ, now remaining. Translation: O King, since you have asked me about our friends and relatives in the city of Dvārakā, I will inform you that all of them were cursed by the brāhmanas, and as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine made of putrefied rice and fought among themselves with sticks, not even recognizing one another. Now all but 4 or 5 of them are dead and gone. Text 24. prāyeṇaitad bhagavata īśvarasya vicheshtitam mitho nignanti bhūtāni bhāvayanti chayan mithaḥ. prāyeṇaitad bhagavata īśvarasya vicheshtitam mitho nignanti bhūtāni bhāvayanti chayan mithaḥ. prāyeṇaitad bhagavata īśvarasya vicheshtitam mitho nignanti bhūtāni bhāvayanti chayan mithaḥ. Word by word, prāyeṇaitad, it is almost by bhagavata, of the personality of Godhead, īśvarasya, of the Lord, vicheshtitam, by the will of, mithaḥ, one another, nignanti, do kill, bhūtāni, the living beings, bhāvayanti, as also protect, cha, also, yet, of whom, mithaḥ, one another. Translation: factually, this is all due to the supreme will of the Lord. The personality of Godhead, sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. According to the anthropologists, there is nature's law of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. But they do not know that behind the law of nature is the supreme direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the law of nature is executed under the direction of the Lord. Whenever, therefore, there is peace in the world, it must be known that it is due to the goodwill of the Lord. And whenever there is upheaval in the world, it is also due to the supreme will of the Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. Whenever, therefore, there is disobedience of the established rules enacted by the Lord, there is a war between men and nations. The surest way to the path of peace, therefore, is dovetailing everything to the established rule of the Lord. The established rule is that whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we sacrifice, or whatever we give in charity must be done to the full satisfaction of the Lord. No one should do anything, eat anything, sacrifice anything, or give anything in charity against the will of the Lord. Discretion is the better part of valor, and one must learn how to discriminate between actions which may be pleasing to the Lord and those which may not be pleasing to the Lord. An action is thus judged by the Lord's pleasure or displeasure. There is no room for personal whims. We must always be guided by the pleasure of the Lord. Such action is called yoga karmasu kaushalam, or actions performed which are linked with the Supreme Lord. That is the art of doing a thing perfectly. Before we discuss on this verse, let us offer some prayers. Let's offer Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namashreshtham Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Mathurim Goshtavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Adadandastranam dante idam yacha punah punah Shriman Rupa Padambojam Julisyam Janma Janmani. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, texts 22 to 24. Text 24 is the text with purport. Reading again. prāyeṇaitad bhagavata Ishvarasya vicheshtitam mitho nignanti bhutani bhavayanti chayan mithaḥ. Translation. Factually, this is all due to the supreme will of the Lord, the personality of Godhead. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. It's interesting that this verse is coming on the day of Janmashtami. Krishna's appearance day is today, the most auspicious day. So here in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the personality of with the supreme will of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, sometimes people kill one another and at other times they protect one another. So this is what Krishna comes for. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita what is the reason he himself comes in his personal form to this material world. Krishna mentions that whenever there is discrepancy in execution of religion, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Bharata, is the descendant of Bharata. So yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. When there is irreligiosity existing in this material world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, personally descends in his original form, Dvibhuja Muralidhara form. What is a Dvibhuja? With two hands and with the flute. Krishna is having a flute in his hand. That is Krishna's original form. This is Paritranaya Sadhunam. So then Krishna says, what is the reason that he comes? To protect the devotees, to help them remember his pastimes. When Krishna personally comes to this material world, his pastimes are all divine. Janma karmam cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanmam naiti mameti so Arjuna. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that when one understands in 100% in truth that Krishna's birth and Krishna's activities are divine and transcendental, divyam, tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanmam naiti. After giving up this body, the person does not take another body in this material world. Then what happens to the person? Mam eti so Arjuna. Krishna mentions that such a person comes back to me, back home, back to Godhead. This is the understanding with which we have to read all this. For example, in this verse, it's Krishna's own dynasty that is getting destroyed here. The Yadavas are fighting among themselves. So Krishna's dynasty, Krishna is Yadukula Nandana. He's in the Yadava dynasty. And that's why he's called the most beloved of all the Yadus. So Krishna is, Hariharaya Nama Krishna, Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. This is Yadavaya Madhavaya. So Krishna is Yadava, and his clan is also Yadava clan. So there, in that clan, this incidents are going on. And what is the reason for this incident? We know from Mahabharata that this is the curse of Gandhari, which Krishna himself accepted. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is Namam Karmani Limpanti, Name Karma Phale Spruha, Itimam Yobhi Janati Karmar Bhir Nasabadhyate. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that even though Krishna is doing all this wonderful, his energies are acting in wonderful way, and he personally descends as well, but none of his actions are binding on him. Why it is not binding on him? Krishna, Srila Prabhupada mentions yoga karmasu kaushalam. Because buddhi hita jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite. Tato yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that when one is ubhe sukrita dushkrite, buddhi yukta jahatiha, when one is acting from the plane of divinity, and Krishna is the source of all divinity, sarva karana karanam, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. If we see any divinity within this whole universe, the cause of the divinity is from whom all the divinity comes. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. That is, so because his activities are divine, Ajopi San Navyayatma, Bhutana Sharopi San. Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavam myatma mayaya. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he is unborn, Ajopi San Navyayatma, and he is the Lord of the whole universe, Bhutanam Ishwaropi San. How does he incarnate? How does he descend? Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavam atma mayaya. So Krishna is coming in this, descending through his Yogamaya potency. Naham prakasha sarvasya Yogamaya samavrita. Mudhoyam nabhi janati. Loko mam ajam avyaya. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that everyone cannot understand this divinity of the Lord. He is coming here personally. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is coming to the material world personally. But everyone does not have the eyes to see the divinity of Krishna. Naham prakasha sarvasya. Yogamaya samavrita. Krishna's activities are under the influence of his internal energy. His internal energy is purely divine. Even his external energy is divine, but the function of his external energy is to run this material world. Devi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Mami vaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So this Mahamaya, so he has got this Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Yogamaya is Krishna's internal energy. And within the internal energy of Krishna, it is all divine, it is all spiritual. There is no trace of material thinking or material matter in Krishna's internal energy. It is purely spiritual. And then Krishna has got this external energy, and in the external energy, it is spiritual. The external energy is also spiritual, but the function of external energy is to work with matter. So that is Mahamaya. So that is Durga Devi. Srishti sthiti pralaya sadhana shakti reka chayeva yasya bhuvanani bibharti Durga ichhanurupam apicha cheshtate sa Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This is mentioned in Brahma Samhita. That Durga Devi is, along with Lord Shiva, is being responsible for Srishti sthiti pralaya sadhana shakti reka. So this creation, maintenance and dissolution. Ichhanurupam apicha cheshtate. So under whose direction is this material world being run? Maya adhyakshena prakritim suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that it is under his supervision. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. This material energy is creating this multifarious, wonderful uniqueness. If you look at the material nature, how wonderful it is. There is no extent to the wonder that is there in the material nature. Then what to speak of the spiritual nature? Because the spiritual nature is ingrained within the material nature. If there was no spirit within the matter is lifeless by itself. So it is the presence of the spirit soul within the matter that causes the matter to go through the 6 kinds of changes. It's called Shadavikar. So any kind of living entity, if you want to call it, takes birth, grows, stays for some time, produces byproducts, dwindles, and vanishes. So that's the 6 kind of changes that happen in this material world. And why those 6 kinds of changes happen? Because of the presence of the spirit soul. So even though it is a material world, the main ingredient which is causing us, which is giving us the consciousness through which we are able to hear, see, talk, think, and experience this whole universe is because there is a consciousness within us. If there is no consciousness, then there is no experience. The whole experience is based on consciousness, the presence of consciousness. So that is the difference between a living body and a dead body. What is the difference? It is a consciousness. In a living body, there is consciousness, and because of the presence of consciousness, the animation is happening. And when the spirit soul has gone, then there is no animation. The body is dead matter. This is the wonderful creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada actually mentions, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. This is a very important point here. To understand that the Lord's hand is there at every moment. It might be a moment which is externally good, or it might be a moment which is externally bad. But internally, we are all part and parcel of Krishna. Mamay vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that all the living entities in this whole universe, there are millions and millions of these galaxies. So therefore Krishna is called Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayakan. So what does that mean? It means that Akhilanda Koti. So there is this Brahmanda. The universe is called Brahmanda, and there are millions and millions of these universes. And Krishna is the Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. This understanding is very important. That who is the real enjoyer? Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, suhṛdāṁ Sarva Bhūtānāṁ, gyatva mam shanti mrichyati. So Srila Prabhupada actually mentions in the Purport, the surest way to the path of peace, therefore, is dovetailing everything to the established rule of the Lord. So that is a path to peace. Understanding and acting in the way of knowing that Krishna is Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. So Krishna is actually the enjoyer of our yajna and tapasa, of our sacrifices and penances. And then the second point is Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, that Krishna is the proprietor of the whole universe. And suhṛdāṁ Sarva Bhūtānāṁ. The third point is understanding that Krishna is the best friend of all the living entities. When one understands these 3 points, that Krishna is the actual enjoyer of all the sacrifices and penances, Krishna is the proprietor of all the universes, and Krishna is the best friend of all the living entities, then the real peace can be experienced. Why does all this upheavals take place in this material world? The reason is because one group is thinking that I am superior to another group. And this group that is thinking that they are superior want to overtake the inferior group. And this is a constant cycle of upheaval that happens in this material world. How can this upheaval be stopped? By understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the owner of everything. Īśāvasyam idam sarvam yatkincham jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma grida kasya siddhanam. This is mentioned in Sri Ishopanishad, and that verse is saying that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Īśāvasyam idam sarvam yatkincham jagatyam jagat. So in this whole universe, everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this thought and when the actions are performed in that state of mind, then there is no fighting between the individuals, because the fighting happens when there is ego, false ego. Ahankara vimūḍhātmā kartaham iti manyate. Yah pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. Actually, all the activities are being done by the modes of material nature. So, in the material body is influenced by the material modes of nature. There is mode of goodness in which we are discussing these transcendental divine topics. That is happens in the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, one is running after name, fame, and money, and everything that is material. And in the mode of ignorance, one does not want to do anything. So this is the state in which the material body is functioning. As satvat sanjayate jnanam rajasa lobhamevacha pramada moho tamaso bhavato ajnanamevacha. This is what Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. This, when the mode of goodness is present, one is trying to understand our original nature. What is our original nature? Is it this that takes birth, grows, then grows old, then dies? Is that our real nature, or is there something more to us than just this body and mind? So this is the understanding in mode of goodness. Rajasa lobhamevacha. In the mode of passion, there is greed to acquire more and more material things. And one keeps on acquiring, but does that give a permanent bliss that one is always seeking? No, it will give comfort to the body. The more material acquisitions we have, the more bodily comforts we will get. But is that giving us the permanent bliss that we are? And this is very important to understand, that we are, as Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna is an embodiment of truth, consciousness, and bliss. And we are also minute part and parcels of Krishna. So in that way, we have those qualities in minute proportion, the qualities that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has. Of course, we don't have the full-blown qualities, and that is the difference between, that is, Vedaham samititani, vartamani cha Arjuna, bhavishyani cha bhutani, mam tu vedana kaschana. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he knows everything. He knows the past, present, and future. But no one knows Krishna himself. Name vidu suragana prabhava na maharshaya aham madirhi devanam bharshinam cha sarvasha. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that even the great demigods and the great sages don't know me fully. Why is that? The reason is because aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasha. Because he is the cause of all the demigods, the great sages, the whole universe. Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So Krishna mentions that when one understands that he is the source of everything, sarvasya prabha, and everything is emanating from the Lord, then when one understands this, iti matva bhajante mam, one engages in loving devotional service of Krishna. And such a person is, who is such a person? They are Buddha. They have the real intelligence, the spiritual intelligence. And when they have that spiritual intelligence, what do? Buddha bhava samanvita. They engage in the loving devotional service of Krishna with full emotions, with full engagement. That is the nature of the pure devotees of Krishna. Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smarati nityasha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. Krishna mentions that when one is remembering the Lord, remembering Krishna constantly, every moment one is remembering Krishna. The example is given of the gopis in Vrindavan. The gopis are doing their household work. They are not in the renounced order. They are not given up everything. But even while doing their household work, the gopis are always remembering Krishna. What is Krishna doing now? What is Krishna doing now? When Krishna comes back from pasturing the cows, they are waiting for that moment to see Krishna when he comes back. This is the total surrender of the gopis to Krishna. And that is the topmost devotional service. Ramya kachid upasana Vrajavadu vargena ya kalpita. This is said. This is said in the about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when it is described about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the ananya cheta satatam yo. That is what Krishna says. Satatam. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. This is the quality that is needed to constantly remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. And the days like Janmashtami actually provide that opportunity to constantly remember Krishna. Of course, every day has to be thought of in this way because that is the goal of human form of life. The goal of human form of life is to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead always. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam nivaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So Krishna mentions that whatever state one is in when one leaves the body, one attains that state in the next life. So therefore Krishna says yam yam vapi, so sada tad bhava bhavita, because one has been thinking about the same thing for the whole life or most of the life. The same thought is coming. That thought will come at the time of death as well. So therefore it is very important that somehow or other one has to keep the mind on Krishna. Yena tena prakarena mana Krishne niveshayet. Sarve vidhi nishedhasyur etayor eva kinkara. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. No, this is it's not from Bhagavad Gita, but this is in the scriptures, and it is actually from Srila Rupa Goswami, and he's saying that some way or the other one has to fix one's mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Yena tena prakarena mana Krishne niveshe. All the other rules and regulations are subservient to this one main rule. Sarve vidhi nishedhasyur etayor eva kinkara. Vidhi and nisheda. Vidhi is rules and nisheda is regulations. So all the rules and regulations are subservient to this main rule. And what is that main rule? It is some way or the other keep the mind fixed on Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuro mame vaishesi satyam te pratijane priyosine. So Krishna mentions to Arjuna that give your mind to me, manmana bhava, madbhakta, become my devotee, madhyaji, mam namaskuro, offer the prayers to me, offer your obeisances to me. Mame vaishesi satyam te. So Krishna says that you will surely come back to me, and this is the truth. Satyam te pratijane priyosine. And I'm telling this to you because you are very dear to me, Arjuna. This is the transcendental position of the pure devotees of Krishna, that they are always engaged in remembering Krishna. Madchitta madgat prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The devotees, pure devotees of Krishna, their mind is totally remembering Krishna. Madchitta, madgat prana. Their life force is engaged in serving Krishna. Bodhayanta parasparam. They are talking about Krishna. And kathayantascha mam nityam. And whatever talk they are talking is all about Krishna and his devotees. Kathayantascha mam nityam. Always. And how is all this happening? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. All this is happening in that state of bliss, where one is experiencing that unlimited bliss. Ramante yogina anante satyanande chidatmani iti rama padenashav param brahma abhidiyate. That is mentioned in the scriptures that the real yogis are experiencing this bliss constantly, and that we are. Any other kind of so-called happiness that comes in or so-called distress that comes in is temporary. But the real bliss is present within us. We have that, and that is part of us. It can never be taken away from us. How do we access that? We access it when we remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when we hear these vibrations, this is Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinatvat Nama Namino. This is so this is mentioned in the scriptures that the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like a touchstone. It can give one anything that one wants. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It is full of bliss. Purna Shuddho. It is totally pure. Nitya Mukto. It is eternally liberated. And Abhinatvat Nama Namino. There is no difference between the name of the Lord and the Lord himself. Srila Prabhupada gives the example in many of his lectures and purports and discussions about how when in the material world, when one is saying water, 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 the water does not come and quench the thirst. One has to actually drink the water. So that is a material world. But in the spiritual world, it is different. It is all spirit. Because it is all spirit, there is Advaita. That is real Advaita. The real Advaita is the spiritual world. There is no duality. The duality exists in the material world. Dvandva. Therefore, the qualities that are asked about a spiritual person is that dvandvaya vimukta. One is free from the dualities of this material world. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvaya vimukta sukha dukkha sangye gachyantyamoda padam avyayam tat. This is mentioned about the qualities of pure devotees of Krishna. What are those? It's called nirmana moha. They do not have mana, pride, and moha, attachment. Pride and attachment are conspicuous by their absence in pure devotees of Krishna. Because of their total surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When there is total surrender, one gets all the qualities of the person whom we are surrendered to. So if pure devotees surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, all the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are seen in Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvair Gunair Tatra Samasate Sura Harava Bhaktasya Kuto Mahakrunat Manorathena Asato Dhavato Bhai. This is mentioned in Srimad-Bhagavatam, where it is said that when one has got this unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, unalloyed devotional service, total surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavati Akinchana. Akinchana is this unalloyed devotional service. Then Sarvair Gunair Tatra Samasate Sura. When that surrender is there, one can see all the great qualities in such a person. And what are those qualities? Nirmana moha. No pride and no attachment. Jita sanga dosha. What is sanga dosha? That is sangat sanjayate kama. Kamat krodho vijayate. That sanga is this material attachments. So jita sanga dosha. Adhyatma nitya. One is always in that state of adhyatma. That is spiritual. Understanding one's real spiritual nature. Adhyatma nitya. Vinivritta kama. So all these attachments and all this material passion has gone away. Vinivritta kama. Dvandvaya vimukta. So this is what we were talking about. One is not in the state of duality. What is duality? Sukha dukkha sangya. The next few words are explaining that. So in this material world, the duality is there is light, there is darkness, there is happiness, there is distress. Everything. So the duality. This is the nature of this material world. Dvandva. So one is sukha dukkha sangye. So, sukha dukkha samaya kritva labha labho jaya jaya. So as Krishna mentions, that one is the equanimity, the equanimous state of mind. One is always in that state of equanimity. So in that state, one is not disturbed. One does not get na prahrushyati priyam prapya no dujate prapya cha priyam. Sthiramathir asammūdho brahmavid brahmani sthita. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that the quality of such a person is when they are getting something that is externally pleasing, one does not get extremely elated. Na prahrushyati priyam prapya, no dvijate prapya cha priyam. And when one does not get what one wants, one does not get totally dejected and goes in the path of dejection. Sthiramatir. So the next word that says is sthiramati. Sthira is it's a state of the mati, the mind and the intelligence are in a state of it's equal. It doesn't get highly elated when some things are going well and highly in a dejected state when things are going bad. It is always in sthira. It doesn't get disturbed. The mind and intelligence doesn't get disturbed. Sthiramatir asammūdho. And one does not get bewildered. Brahmavid brahmani sthita. That is the knowledge of Brahman. And such a person is Esha Brahmi sthiti partha naivam prapyam vimūḍhānāṁ. Sthitavapyam antakalepi brahma nirvāṇam richati. Labhante brahma nirvāṇam rishya kshina kalmasha. Chinna dvandvo yatatmana sarva bhuta hiterata. So this is the state of brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. Krishna mentions that when one is in that state of understanding who we really are, that state of understanding that we are eternal and all these are temporary, this comes and goes. So then one is in a prasannatma. That state of mind is blissful state of mind. And in that state there is na shochati na kankshati. There is no material hankering, and because there is no material hankering, there is no material lamentation. Then samas sarveshu bhuteshu. In that state of mind, one sees that the whole universe is the energy of the Lord. So there is maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avasthita. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he is pervaded everywhere in the form of his energy. And he is personally present in his own abode. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto Govinda madipurushaṁ tamam bhaja. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitābhis tābhirya eva nijarupataya kalabhi. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto Govinda madipurushaṁ tamam bhaja. This is so in this verse, Srila Prabhupada actually mentions about this yoga karmasu kaushalam, or actions performed which are linked with the Supreme. That is the art of doing a thing perfectly. So that's how Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport in this verse. He says that no one should do anything, eat anything, sacrifice anything, or give anything in charity against the will of the Lord. So that is yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita about that. That do it as an offering to me. Whatever you're doing, do it as an offering to me. Yat karoshi yadashnasi. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're eating, yajjuhoshi dadasi yat. So whatever you are giving in charity, do it as a tat kurushva madarpanam. So give it as an offering to me. That is what Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. And then discretion is the better part of the valor, and one must learn how to discriminate between actions which may be pleasing to the Lord and those which may not be pleasing to the Lord. So how does one know this? How does one know that the action is pleasing to the Lord or not pleasing to the Lord? When the action is bringing the bliss to everyone, that is the action that pleases the Lord. And when the action is bringing irreligiosity in this world that is displeasing to the Lord. So we can understand Daivasura evacha. So there are at a very high level, there are two categories of living entities. So one category of living entity is peaceful, peace-oriented. They want that the whole world be at peace with oneself and with each other. And then unfortunately, there is another category of people who are in a state of, unfortunately, they are in a state of not peace. They unfortunately do not have peace within themselves. And because they do not have the peace within themselves, they are vibrating that energy, creating a state of unhappiness within this world. So the incarnation, why Krishna personally comes, is to bring in that state of dharma, to bring in that state of religiosity where peace can exist, where love for the Lord, which directly transmutes itself as a love for all the living entities, exists. Yatha tarora mula nishechenena truptyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopaharascha etendriyanam tatha sarvarhanam achyutejya. This is mentioned in Srimad-Bhagavatam that just like when we water the root of the tree, automatically the whole tree gets nourished. Just like when we put food in the stomach, the whole body gets nourished. Similarly, when we are satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, automatically the whole universe gets satisfied. Tatha sarvarhanam achyutejya, achyuta ijya. So when one is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is happening? One is in that state of bliss. And that state of bliss is vibrating from oneself. And that vibration of bliss is getting outside in the world. And the world, whoever is in that frequency can experience that bliss. So that frequency is what we were calling about the two, at a very high level, the two kinds of people that are existing in this whole universe. And it is even though the negative vibration and the negative irreligiosity people are there, but the people who are religious, peaceful, and surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead have all those wonderful qualities, because of which they can deal with this state of turmoil that exists in the world. The quality like titikshava karunika suhṛdāṁ sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhavo sadhubhushana. Those are all the real jewels of the pure devotees of Krishna. They are forbearing, they are merciful, they are the best friend of all the living entities. And for them, no enemy is born. So what to speak of? So even for Krishna, even though Krishna is incarnating to bring the religiosity and paritrana vinashaya cha dushkritam, Krishna is coming himself to annihilate the miscreants, but that annihilation of the miscreants is actually a boon for the miscreants, because they actually get sayujya mukti. They get this liberation of merging into the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. So even when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is doing this vinashaya cha dushkritam, is annihilating the miscreants, they are still being blessed by the Lord. This is what Krishna says, samoham sarva bhuteshu. So Krishna is equal to all the living entities. And to conclude, what one can take from this verse is to understand that the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there everywhere, and He is the actual controller of the whole universe. And because Krishna is in control, everything has to be auspicious. There is nothing inauspicious, because Krishna is the cause of all auspiciousness in this world. And therefore, this wonderful auspicious occasion of Janmashtami is really a boon for this whole material world to continuously remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus go back home, back to Godhead. So thank you very much for listening. I'll see there is some comments here. There is Namaste Vlogs, Namaste, and Ram to Maro. Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference is going to be held. What are your views on it? Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference. So this is something that Ram to Maro Prabhu, this, as we were discussing in this verse, there would be some category of people who are who do not want peace in the world, and they would go into this dismantling part. But we don't do that. We are suhṛdāṁ sarva-bhūtānāṁ. So we always will be the best friend of all the living entities. And this is the wonderful prayer of Hindutva is Sarve bhavantu sukhina, Sarve santu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. This is the wonderful mantra that we have. And we are always saying that let all the living beings be happy. Let all the living beings be free from all diseases. And let Sarve santu sarve, and let everyone see auspiciousness everywhere. And let there be no sorrow anywhere. This is our prayer. So in that prayer, if someone is doing dismantling global Hindutva, it's an unfortunate situation for them, not for us, because we are always praying for the benefit of the humanity, and we should always be in that state of mind. Thank you very much, Ram Tomero Prabhu. Sports Club, Namaste, Hare Krishna, and Chennai Yadav, Hare Krishna, Shafali Gupta, Hare Krishna, Anju Yamanti, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for your time. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna Janmashtami Mahotsav ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutle, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu, Krishna Matirastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.